Good morning, live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next hour. India's global outreach on Operation Sindoor continues to gain momentum. All party delegations engage with key figures in multiple nations, highlighting India's continued fight against terrorism. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar holds telephonic conversation with Canadian counterpart Anita Anand. Call focuses on strengthening economic ties and working on shared goals. US President Trump issues rare rebuke to Russian counterpart, says not happy with Putin for attacking Ukraine. Zelensky urges Trump to not be silent after multiple casualties in strikes. President Trump delays 50% tariffs on European Union imports until July 9th after talks with EU chief. EU says Europe ready to advance talks with Washington swiftly and decisively. President Donald Trump says real progress has been made in negotiations with Iran, hints at some potential good news on the issue soon. And in sports, Liverpool lift the Premier League trophy in front of fans for the first time since 1990. Star forward Mohamed Salah wins the Golden Boot after scoring his 29th goal of the season. India continues its global campaign against Pakistan-sponsored terrorism, with all party delegations engaged in diplomatic efforts and visiting key countries to spread the message of zero tolerance against terrorism. The Group 3 delegation, led by JDU MP Sanjay Kumar Jha, along with other leaders, interacted with Indian community in Seoul, capital of South Korea.
There are member of parliaments from ruling party, there are member of parliaments from opposition party, but we all have come together, only one resolve, जो अभी हमारे देश में आप सब ने देखा होगा खबर में कि कश्मीर के पहलगांव में जो 26 लोगों की हत्या कर दी गई, वो छुट्टी पे परिवार के साथ गए हुए थे, सेग्रीगेट करके रिलीजन के नाम पर क्लोज रेंज से उनके फैमिली के सामने, उनके बच्चे थे, उनकी वाइफ थी, उनके सामने उनको गोली मार दी। और इस तरह का टेररिस्ट एक्टिविटी पाकिस्तान के द्वारा प्रमोट किया जा रहा है। और प्रधानमंत्री ने भी और देश ने भी ये माना कि वी हैड हैड एनफ।
Earlier, the visiting delegation of JDU MP Sanjay Kumar Jha attended the meeting with ambassadors. Group 1, headed by BJP MP Baijant Panda, including MPs from the BJP, AIMIM and other parties, along with former diplomats like Harsh Shringla, arrived in Kuwait, their second destination, to showcase India's unwavering stand against cross-border terrorism. The all-party delegation, Group 2, led by BJP MP Ravi Shankar Prasad, would engage with several quarters of the French society, including having engagements with the members of the Senate and the National Assembly. Meanwhile, the all-party delegation led by Congress MP Shashi Tharoor called upon the Vice President of Guyana, Bharat Jagdeo. Tharoor highlighted in his remarks that India is standing against terrorism wherever it comes. He also said that the motive is not only to bring the evil killers to justice, but also challenging those who are financing them, training them, equipping them, and directing them to do evil.
Tremendous amount of understanding for our position on the current events with our neighbor. But equally, we had a much broader ranging conversation about Guyana's development and the scope for India to be part of this narrative. There's a tremendous expansion taking place. Guyana, as you know, has discovered a lot of oil and gas, and with that there's tremendous infrastructural changes happening, everything from highway construction to reforming the banking sector, telecoms, all sorts of areas. And there was a very clear signal that India would be welcome and Indians would be welcome to participate in this process.
On meeting, Prime Minister of Guyana, BJP MP Tejasvi Surya said that top officials of both these countries have spoken in favor of India and have fully supported Operation Sindoor.
Over the last few years, after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Guyana, the relationship between the two nations has further strengthened. The objective of the mission, of course, is to communicate to the world and amplify India's message of zero tolerance against Pakistani terrorism. For almost 7 decades, India has suffered Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. While India aims to strengthen itself, lift millions out of poverty, and contribute positively to the growth and well-being of the world, it is constantly distracted and needled by Pakistan's terrorism, which has weaponized terrorism as its statecraft. Across political parties, across regions of India, all members of parliament have come here to express India's solidarity in one voice against terrorism. And in this interconnected global world, one nation's inaction against terrorism can actually be a threat to all nations.
We have very good relationships between Guyana and India. 40% of the people in Guyana are from India. We have a relationship that is over 150 years old, right, between India and Guyana. And we're honored to have the delegation of members of parliament gracing us with this visit. Very important visit to us because it will serve to concretize the relationship between Guyana and India. And this is a very good time for friends to India to visit.
Group 7 delegation led by NCP Supriya Sule is visiting Qatar to showcase Operation Sindoor and India's continued fight against terrorism. In continuance of India's sustained fight against terrorism, an all-party delegation led by Kanimoy Karunanidhi, Member of Parliament Lok Sabha, had a number of engagements in Slovenia. Our correspondent Dibyendu Mondol filed this report earlier on. What's on the agenda for the delegation today?
Well, of course, the all-party delegation led by DMK MP Kanimori did come here last evening. And of course, it's a packed schedule for the parliamentary delegation that is visiting in Slovenia. The meetings would start with the DMK MP Kanimori leading her delegation to the different the schedules that are there in the agenda for today. And of course, some of the key important meetings would of course be in the National Assembly, where she will be meeting with the important parliamentarians here in Slovenia. She will also be meeting the security who looks after the internal and the international security in the Prime Minister's office in Slovenia. She will also be holding meetings with the academia, as well as the individual who is responsible for foreign affairs and the advisor to the foreign ministry here in Slovenia. So of course, this is taking India's stand against terrorism to the globe. And of course, this crucial meeting of the delegation with the important personalities here in Slovenia will bring out this message of India loud and clear, that India stands united against terrorism and against the Pakistan-sponsored terrorism.
We also asked Dibyendu about the overall significance of the visits by the 7 all-party delegations to various countries to convey India's stand against terrorism.
Well, you see, this is an absolutely significant visit. Such delegations are, or in fact, have been going to different countries. India's, stand against terrorism has been absolutely loud and clear. The message is that India will not tolerate terrorism in any form. And of course, the global stand on terrorism has also been important and significant to note here that the world also speaks in one voice when it comes to terrorism. All the delegations that are going to the different parts of the world is conveying India's message about, the Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. Pakistan for long has been, bleeding India through this proxy war that it has been raising over the last many decades. So therefore, this visit is absolutely significant for all the parliamentary delegations that are going across the world. And, we have already been getting, responses from various parts of the world that they have shown solidarity with India when it comes to tackling terrorism. And of course, terrorism is not just restricted to India, it's a global problem, and the world needs to fight terrorism together. And this is a message loud and clear. And also for Pakistan, the message is very clear from the world that, terrorism in any form would not be tolerated anywhere in the world, not just in India. And of course, any act of terror on the soil of India would now be considered as an act of war. Therefore, once again, the message is loud and clear that India stands united today when it comes to fighting terrorism and when it comes to national interest and when it comes to the sovereignty of India. All political parties, irrespective of their ideologies and irrespective of their difference in opinions, all the political parties stand united to fight against terrorism.
Meanwhile, a Small Wars General article published on May 22nd spotlights India's rapid defense modernization, urging US military reform to match the evolving warfare demands. Citing Operation Sindoor as a breakthrough in strategy and execution, the piece highlights India's strides in domestic defense production and policy innovation. It positions India as a model of adaptability, underscoring growing global military shifts and the urgency for the US to accelerate its defense transformation. The author of the article, titled India's Wake-up Call, Why US Defense Reform Must Match the Speed of Modern War, has praised the sweeping defense reforms initiated in 2014 by the NDA government, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, listing several key aspects of the decisive step. The article mentions defense sector reform focused on India's domestic production, self-reliance and speed. The author also lauded India's tactical and overwhelming victory in Operation Sindoor, highlighting the swift, precise military response using domestically developed systems and how it struck hardened targets across the border in 4 days. The article also mentions no reliance on US systems or foreign supply lines. The article highlights the key systems that were used: BrahMos missiles, Akash-Tir air defense, loitering munitions, and how they demonstrated overwhelming military superiority against Pakistan and made Pakistani Chinese-made air defenses ineffective. He also factored in India's shifting focus on defense procurement, saying that India's progress in domestic defense sourcing increased from 30% to 65% and may reach the target of 90% by the decade's end. Under a dedicated head, the author highlighted some lessons for the United States that include lessons from India's model and how it emphasizes capability, speed and cost efficiency. The article also advises that US should study and potentially adopt aspects of this model. The article says US should treat allies like India and Israel as co-equal production partners. The lesson of Operation Sindoor is not just that India is rising, it's that United States can fall behind. In other news, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar spoke with Canada's new Foreign Minister Anita Anand for the first time on Sunday. The phone call focused on strengthening economic ties and working on shared goals. Anand took charge as Foreign Minister this month in Prime Minister Mark Carney's new cabinet. Carney led the Liberal Party to a major win in last month's parliamentary elections in Canada. And sharing on social media platform X, Minister Jaishankar writes, and I quote, "Appreciate the telecon with FM Anita Anand, MP of Canada, discussed the prospects of India-Canada ties, wished her a very successful tenure," unquote. Prime Minister Narendra Modi began his two-day Gujarat visit from the western Indian city of Dahod on Monday. He is scheduled to attend a number of public events while inaugurating and laying foundation stones for various developmental projects worth thousands of crore rupees. Prime Minister in Dahod will dedicate to the nation a locomotive manufacturing plant and also flag off an electric locomotive. The plant will produce electric locomotive of 9,000 horsepower for domestic purposes and for export. Thereafter, he will lay and inaugurate multiple development projects worth around 24,000 crore rupees in Dahod. The projects include rail projects, projects of Government of Gujarat. Prime Minister will then travel to Bhuj, will lay foundation stone and inaugurate multiple development projects worth over 53,400 crore rupees. And further, Prime Minister will travel to Gandhinagar, and on 27th of May, he will participate in celebrations of 20 years of Gujarat Urban Growth Story and launch Urban Development Year 2025. India's Home Minister Amit Shah will lay the foundation stone of the National Forensic Science University Nagpur campus in Kamptee on Monday. The establishment of the new campus of NFSU in Maharashtra will create a group of skilled forensic experts. The Nagpur campus will be the 11th campus of NFSU and the first one in Maharashtra. During the three-day visit, Home Minister will also attend various programs in Nanded and Mumbai. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Maldives, Dr. Abdullah Khalil, arrived in New Delhi on a three-day visit to India. This is Dr. Khalil's third visit to India this year, following his visits earlier in January and March, and is in continuation of intensified high-level political exchanges between India and Maldives. The Foreign Minister will lead Maldives at the second India-Maldives high-level core group meeting to oversee progress in the implementation of India-Maldives Vision Document on comprehensive economic and maritime security partnership adopted by the leadership of the two countries in October 2024. Dr. Khalil will also hold bilateral discussions with External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar in New Delhi. India will take part in the upcoming BRICS Cultural Ministers meeting commencing on Monday in Brazil. The meeting brings together culture ministers from the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, to promote mutual understanding and cultural cooperation. This year's focus is on strengthening ties through joint cultural projects, institutional partnerships and efforts to preserve the diverse heritage of BRICS countries. India's Minister of Culture and Tourism, Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, will lead the Indian delegation and represent the country at this high-level event. During discussions, the minister will highlight India's enduring commitment to cultural diplomacy, heritage conservation and people-to-people exchanges. He will also showcase India's unique contributions to the global cultural landscape, including recent initiatives. On May 26, 2014, Narendra Modi took oath as India's Prime Minister, marking a shift from decades of coalition politics to a strong, clear mandate. His administration introduced pivotal reforms, paving the way for India's emergence as the world's fourth largest economic powerhouse.
May 26 is a decisive date in Indian politics, symbolizing transformation and progress. 11 years ago, in 2014, a new government was formed under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. His cabinet took the oath at the presidential palace, marking a historic moment because coalition politics had dominated the country for the last 3 decades, with no clear mandate for any party. However, 2014 was a year of change. The Bharatiya Janata Party, led by Narendra Modi as its prime ministerial candidate, secured a remarkable victory, winning 282 Lok Sabha seats. BJP on its own crossed the halfway mark for simple majority in the lower house. Upon taking office, Prime Minister Modi launched a strong fight against corruption, adopting the mantra of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. The government undertook several initiatives, including improving financial inclusion of the weaker section by opening Jan Dhan accounts for millions, access to clean cooking fuel through the Ujjwala scheme, improving power connectivity via the Ujala program. Major reforms like infrastructure development, tax reform, and the removal of outdated laws went a long way to improve ease of living. Direct benefit transfer ensured the money reached the beneficiary directly without any intermediary role, effectively decimating any scope for corruption. The new regime and push for reforms has also meant that youth have got all the support they need for their startup ideas. Consequently, Indian startup ecosystem is one of the best performing in the world. Over the past decade, India has witnessed remarkable changes, with all sections of the society actively participating in economic and social empowerment. The vision of a developed India has become a collective resolve, and emerging as the world's fourth largest economic power is a testament that the reforms and other initiatives are propelling the nation in the right direction. Bureau Report, DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu met with visiting US Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem in Jerusalem. US President Trump says there was serious progress in talks with Iran. Lawmakers from European and Arab countries meet in Madrid to discuss war in Gaza. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. US President Donald Trump issued a rare rebuke to Russian leader Vladimir Putin on Sunday, saying that he was not happy with him after Moscow launched a record number of drones against Ukraine.
I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all.
And responding to a question on the tarmac in Morristown, Trump said he was absolutely considering increasing US sanctions on Russia in response to the latest drone attacks. The US president intensified his criticism of the Russian counterpart by calling him crazy via social media post. Trump, in a post on the official Truth Social account, says, and I quote, "I've always had very good relationship with Vladimir Putin of Russia, but something has happened to him. He has gone absolutely crazy." Trump did not stop short of criticizing Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, posting that the Ukrainian leader is doing his country no favors by taking the way he does and talking the way he does. Everything out of his mouth causes problems. I don't like it, and it better stop. Trump spoke in reaction to a Russian barrage of over 360 drones and missiles at Ukrainian cities overnight on Sunday, including the capital Kiev, the largest aerial attack of the conflict so far, killing at least 13 people and injuring dozens more. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called on United States to speak out. Ukrainian President, in a social media post on Telegram, says, and I quote, "The silence of America, the silence of others in the world only encourages Putin. Every such terrorist Russian strike is a reason enough for new sanctions against Russia." Russia's attacks on Ukraine came as two countries completed their biggest prisoner swap since February 2022, with some 1,000 captured soldiers and civilian prisoners sent back by each side. Updates from West Asia now. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with visiting US Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem in Jerusalem on Sunday. During the talks, US Homeland Security Secretary expressed unwavering support for Prime Minister Netanyahu and the State of Israel. The State of Israel, Israeli Prime Minister and PMO in a social media informed that US Homeland Security also expressed great appreciation for Prime Minister's policy of building a fence along the Egyptian border and for his conduct of the conflict. She's also expected to meet Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar on Monday. The visit of US Homeland Security Secretary to Jerusalem comes after the killing of 2 Israeli embassy staffers in Washington, D.C. last week. Earlier, US Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and US Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee had visited the city's Western Wall, where early celebrations for Monday's Jerusalem Day holiday were taking place. The holiday commemorates what Israel considers Jerusalem's reunification under its authority after the city's eastern sector was captured by its forces in the 1967 Arab-Israeli War. Meanwhile, Israelis gathered at the Western Wall Plaza in Jerusalem's Old City on Sunday to unfurl a giant Israeli flag in front of the ancient retaining wall on the eve of Jerusalem Day. On the other hand, lawmakers from European and Arab countries met in Madrid on Sunday to discuss the Gaza conflict. The talks aim to stop Israel's military offensive in Gaza. Sunday's meeting also promoted a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Some of Israel's long-standing allies have added their voices to growing international pressure after it expanded military operations against Hamas, whose 2023 attack on Israel sparked the devastating conflict. Talking to media, Spanish Foreign Minister José Manuel Albares said humanitarian aid must enter Gaza massively, without conditions and without limits, and not controlled by Israel, describing the territory as humanity's open wound. US President Donald Trump on Sunday backed off his threat to impose 50% tariffs on EU imports, agreeing to extend trade talks until July 9th. Trump on Friday had warned of steep tariffs starting June 1st, citing frustration over stalled negotiations, sending shockwaves through global markets. However, after a phone call with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, who requested more time to reach a good deal, Trump agreed to delay. He told reporters she assured him that they'd rapidly get together to find common ground. Von der Leyen called the conversation good in a post on X and affirmed EU's readiness to move swiftly. The new timeline restores the original 90-day window set by Trump in April.
She just called me, as you know, and she asked for an extension on the June 1st date. And she said she wants to get down to serious negotiation because I've told you specifically, but I told anybody that would listen, they have to do that. And we had a very nice call, and I agreed to move it. I believe June 9th would be, July 9th would be the date. That was the date she requested. Could we move it from June 1st to July 9th? And I agreed to do that, and that she said we will rapidly get together and see if we can work something out.
And President Trump also said on Sunday that real progress, serious progress had been made in negotiations with Iran, hinting at potential good news on the issue soon. Speaking in New Jersey before heading to Washington, D.C., Trump suggested that additional talks with Iran could take place, according to him, very soon. This follows the conclusion of fifth round of discussions in Rome on Friday between U.S. and Iranian officials. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi acknowledged the possibility of a breakthrough, noting that Oman had introduced several constructive proposals during the talks, offering a potential path forward in the long-standing nuclear dispute.
We've had some very, very good talks with Iran, and I don't know if I'll be telling you anything good or bad over the next 2 days, but I have a feeling I might be telling you something good. We've had some real progress, serious progress. Very soon, the Iran talks, I can't tell you what's going to happen tomorrow. I can tell you the Iran talks have been going very well.
President Donald Trump announced on Sunday that his administration aims to reduce the number of foreign students at Harvard University and is demanding the school release their names. Speaking at Morristown Airport, Trump claimed that no foreign government funds Harvard and suggested that U.S. government grants to the university may be reconsidered. The move follows the administration's recent decision to revoke Harvard's ability to enroll foreign students, a sharp escalation in its ongoing conflict with the Ivy League institution. Harvard strongly opposed the action, calling it blatant violation of the US Constitution and federal law. A federal judge has since intervened, temporarily blocking the administration's order, leaving the future of Harvard's international enrollment uncertain.
Well, look, part of the problem with Harvard is that there are about 31%, almost 31% of foreigners coming to Harvard. We give them billions of dollars, which is ridiculous. We do grants, which we're probably not going to be doing much grants anymore to Harvard. But there are 31%, but they refuse to tell us who the people are. We want to know who the people. Now, a lot of the foreign students we wouldn't have a problem with. I'm not going to have a problem with foreign students, but it shouldn't be 31%. It's too much because we have Americans that want to go there and to other places, and they can't go there because you have 31% foreign. Now, no foreign government contributes money to Harvard. We do. So why are they doing so many? Number one. Number two, we want a list of those foreign students, and we'll find out whether or not they're okay. Many will be okay, I assume. And I assume with Harvard, many will be bad. And then the other thing is they're very anti-Semitic. Everybody knows they're anti-Semitic, and that's got to stop immediately.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Southeast Asian leaders meet in Kuala Lumpur for their first summit since Trump's tariffs. Venezuela's elections, Nicolas Maduro's party eyes big win. United Arab Emirates breached its May temperatures record for the second day in a row. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Let's turn to global weather updates. The India Met Department has forecast heavy rainfall and thunderstorms across several regions, with warnings extending until the end of the week. IMD has forecast heavy rains in coastal and south interior Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Puducherry today. Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Konkan, Goa and Maharashtra can also witness rainfall today. Maharashtra is under a red alert for extremely heavy rains. Intense rainfall is expected in several districts, including Pune, Satara and coastal areas like Konkan and Goa. The IMD also predicts heavy rains in Ghat regions, with isolated very heavy downpours expected till May 30th. Waterlogging was also reported in several parts of Mumbai after heavy rains on Sunday late night. The Met Department has also issued a heatwave alert for Rajasthan, forecasting that extreme temperatures will persist over the next 5 days. As per IMD, several heatwave conditions are forecast to continue in Rajasthan until May 27th and in Punjab, Haryana, Jammu and Kashmir until May 26th. Meanwhile, IMD has issued alerts for lightning and heavy rains in northeastern states, including Assam, Meghalaya and Tripura. The warning remains in effect until May 31st, with very heavy downpours predicted from May 28 to May 31st. As per the latest Assam State Disaster Management Authority report, none of the rivers are flowing above the danger level in Assam. In response to the flood-related risks, the state administration has activated its emergency response systems, with multiple ministers visiting flood and erosion-prone areas to assess the situation. As part of the ongoing effort, authorities have undertaken initiatives like clearing encroachments in flood-prone areas to alleviate the city's flash floods challenges in the long run. And DD India correspondent Subina Roy joins us from the northeast India's Dibrugarh. Subina, as the monsoons advance, what is the weather like in Assam and the northeast?
Good morning. The weather right here in Assam quite cloudy, and the southwest monsoon has landfall in Mizoram and other parts of northeastern states. And for the IMD has predicted that for the next 7 days there is going to be a heavy rainfall in numerous northeast states like Assam and Meghalaya is going to experience isolated heavy rainfalls on 29 to 31st of May, whereas Arunachal Pradesh is likely to experience heavy rainfall from 25th to 26th, that is today and tomorrow. Whereas if we talk about the other states, that is Manipur, Mizoram, and upper cyclonic circulation is prevailing over there, due to which heavy rainfall is likely to occur in the next few days. However, the IMD has issued yellow alerts for 13 Assam,
Right.
and Kamrup as well are the areas which are
Right,
likely
Sabina.
to experience widespread rain.
Sabina, thank you for joining us with those updates. Meanwhile, the United Arab Emirates reached its May temperature record for the second day in a row, hitting 51.6 degrees Celsius. The desert nation, a top global oil exporter, lies in one of the planet's hottest regions, one of which is particularly vulnerable to climate change. The UAE, host of the COP28 climate talks in 2023, has just emerged from record-breaking April with an average daily high of 42.6 degrees Celsius. The number of extremely hot days has nearly doubled globally in the past 3 decades. Let's turn to Nepal. This year, the early arrival of the pre-monsoon season has resulted in daily rainfall across various parts of the Kathmandu Valley. In response, Department of Meteorology, Government of Nepal has proposed the Monsoon Preparedness and Response National Action Plan for the year 2082 BS based on the collected data. The National Action Plan is scheduled to be presented at the Executive Committee meeting of the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Authority, which will be chaired by the Home Minister on May 28th. Once approved during the meeting, the plan will be put into effect. According to the weather forecast, Department of Met, there will be extreme rainfall and more than 2 million people may be affected across Nepal during this year's monsoon. Kilauea, Hawaii's most active volcano, erupted on Monday as lava bubbles out of the volcano. Kilauea is one of the world's most active volcanoes since December last year. It has been intermittently erupting within the summit caldera in Hawaii's Volcanoes National Park. And we're showing you, in fact, live visuals of the volcano eruption, one of the most active volcanoes across the world, situated in Hawaii. Southeast Asian leaders met on Monday in Kuala Lumpur for their first summit since Trump tariff policies upended global economic norms, with trade-dependent nations expected to issue a joint message of deep concerns over recent U.S. actions. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, will also tackle pressing regional issues, attempting to increase pressure on Myanmar's military junta and iron out remaining issues with East Timor's application to join the bloc. On Tuesday, the leaders will be joined in Malaysia, which holds ASEAN's rotating chairmanship, by representatives of China and Gulf states as they seek to solidify diverse economic alliances in the face of future uncertainty. Malaysia says it will continue speaking separately to the junta and to Myanmar's armed opposition groups to try foster direct talks between the warring sides. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron attended Hanoi welcome ceremony with Vietnamese counterpart. Macron, who is in Vietnam on the first leg of a Southeast Asia tour, where he will pitch his country as a reliable alternative partner to the United States and China. In his first formal visit to the country, and the first for a French president in nearly a decade, is expected to oversee the signing of possibly 30 agreements while trying to boost cooperation in multiple sectors, including aviation, nuclear energy, railways, renewables, research, satellite and defense. Macron's long-planned trip to Vietnam, the first leg of a larger Southeast Asian tour, including Indonesia and Singapore, comes in the heels of US President Trump's threats on Friday to impose 50% duties on EU goods from June, critically escalating trade tensions with the 27-member bloc. South Korea's Liberal presidential candidate Lee Jae-myung said on Monday that if elected, he would work to restore communications with North Korea, including reopening a military hotline. In a social media post, Lee, who is the frontrunner in the opinion polls for the June 3rd elections, also pledged to repair strained relations with China, which he said had deteriorated under the previous administration. He emphasized the plans to deepen US-South Korea alliance into a comprehensive strategic partnership and said he would address the historical and territorial disputes with Japan based on principle, while also enhancing trilateral cooperation with the US and Japan. North Korea has arrested several shipyard officials after a major accident during the launch of a new 5,000-ton warship, the state media reported on Sunday. Satellite images show the vessel tipped on its side, its stern in the harbor and bow still on the slipway. Kim has ordered the ship repaired ahead of the major party meeting in June. Leader Kim Jong-un, who witnessed the failed launch, called it a blow to the nation's dignity and vowed punishment for those responsible. According to KCNA, the shipyard's chief engineer and others have been detained as investigations intensify. Family members of George Floyd, along with Reverend Al Sharpton, the civil rights attorney Ben Crump, gathered in Pearland, Texas on Sunday to commemorate the 5th anniversary of Floyd's death. George Floyd, a black man, was killed by white Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. His death and that of Breonna Taylor, fatally shot by Louisville police during a no-knock raid, ignited global protest against racially biased policing during the final year of President Donald Trump's first term. Despite prior findings of civil rights violations, the Trump administration is halting efforts to impose federal oversight on police in Minneapolis and Louisville and rolling back several other racial justice investigations. Floyd's brother, Philones, said they would not stop fighting and would keep pushing for change.
I want George Floyd to be remembered as the one that changed policing for the rest of the history of this country.
Amen. All our lives matter. People of color lives matter. So let's stick to this movement and stick to the script. We're not going to give up. We're going to continue to fight. That's what we're going to stand on.
On the 5th anniversary of George Floyd's killing, black faith leaders in Georgia held a powerful protest outside the Target store in Conneaus, demanding the retailer reinstate its diversity, equity and inclusion programs. Led by Reverend Jamal Harrison Bryant, the demonstration drew national participation with dozens of churches halting Sunday services to join. The emotional climax came as protesters prayed for 9 minutes and 40 seconds, the exact time Floyd was pinned under Officer Derek Chauvin's knee. Pope Leo XIV declared himself Roman on Sunday as he completed the final ceremonial steps, cementing his role as the Bishop of Rome. The first American Pope formally took possession of the St. John Lateran Basilica, which is Rome's cathedral and seat of the diocese. With an evening mass attended by Roman priests and the faithful, he then took the Pope Mobile for a visit to St. Mary Major, where he prayed before Pope Francis's tomb and an icon of Virgin Mary, beloved to many Roman faithful. One of many titles that Leo assumed when he was elected May 8th was Bishop of Rome, given his responsibilities running the 1.4 billion strong Universal Catholic Church. Popes delegate the day-to-day governance of the running of Diocese of Roman to a vicar. Suriname began counting votes in the parliamentary elections that will decide who will be responsible for distributing the South American country's newfound oil wealth. 14 parties, including President Shan Santoki's Progressive Reform Party and the leftist National Democratic Party, are competing for power. The outcome could reshape Suriname's future, turning the smallest country in South America into an energy powerhouse. Citizens are hopeful that new leadership will use the oil resources wisely to improve the living conditions and boost development. And Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's party won big in parliamentary and regional elections, securing 23 of 24 governor positions and dominating the National Assembly votes. However, the opposition led by Maria Corina Machado boycotted the elections, calling them a farce. Turnout was reportedly low from last year's presidential vote. The run-up saw over 70 arrests, including opposition figure Juan Pablo Guanepa, accused of leading a terrorist network. The government also shut its border with Colombia, citing security concerns. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Tokyo stocks rise on US tariffs delay. Nikkei gains over 120 points early on Monday. Nippon Steel shares gain on Japan-US steel partnership. And in Indian Premier League, Sunrisers Hyderabad sign off with huge 110-run win over Kolkata.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Some updates from global markets. Tokyo stocks opened higher on Monday after President Donald Trump announced a delay in imposing 50% tariffs on European Union imports, easing market jitters. Nikkei gained 0.34% in the first 15 minutes of trading, while the broader topics rose 0.29%. Investor sentiment improved as the tariff deadline was pushed to July 9th, offering breathing room for US-EU trade negotiations. Leading gainers included iron and steel, air transportation, and real estate sectors. Meanwhile, US stocks futures rose in early Asian trading on Monday, calming fears of an imminent trade disruption. Futures on the S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 climbed, with markets viewing the move as potential window for renewed negotiations ahead of the new July 9th deadline. The delay also buoyed oil prices as trade optimism lifted sentiment, though gains were capped by weak demand forecast and ongoing OPEC Plus output talks. Gold prices dipped 0.3% amid easing short-term uncertainty. Asian stocks were mixed on Monday. Currency markets saw euro rise to $1.13 and the yen trade at 142.55 per dollar. Tokyo, Shanghai and Seoul posted gains, while Hong Kong and Sydney slipped. Tokyo's Nikkei 225 rose 0.5% to 37,329.22, while Shanghai gained 0.1% to 3,352.76. Hong Kong's Hang Seng fell 0.7% to 23,447.04. The delay offered temporary relief, but analysts warn of ongoing volatility due to Trump's unpredictable policy shifts. Nippon Steel shares jumped as much as 7.4% on Monday after US President Donald Trump threw his support behind the new partnership between the Japanese firm and US Steel. On Monday, Nippon Steel shares were up 4.1%, having surged 7.4% in early trade. US Steel shares had soared 21% on Wall Street on Friday. Trump's remarks on Friday were the latest in a long saga surrounding Nippon Steel's $14.9 billion takeover of US Steel, first announced in late 2023. The US firm's management had accepted the offer, but unions opposed it, and Trump's predecessor, Joe Biden, blocked it on national security grounds in the last days of his presidency. Trump said US Steel's headquarters would remain in Pittsburgh and that the partnership would create at least 70,000 jobs and add $14 billion to the US economy.
It'll be controlled by the United States. Otherwise, I wouldn't make the deal. I went to the unions, to all of the local unions. They all wanted it. And I'm doing it because all of the congressmen came in, about 5 of them, and the others, I understand, are in concurrence, and they ask that I do it. Everybody seems to want it, and we'll see. I mean, you know, we'll see what the final is. But they're going to invest billions of dollars in steel, and it's a good company. Nissan's a very good company. We'll see. But it's an investment, and it's a partial ownership, but it'll be controlled by the USA.
Japan aims to drastically cut stockpiled rice prices to 2,000 yen per 5 kilogram and speed up getting rice onto shop shelves as consumers suffer from sky-high staple grain costs. Surging rice prices due to part to crop damage from extreme heat and increasing demand from tourism are a serious concern for Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba's government, with its public approval rating struck around a record low ahead of an upper house election in July. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for all the action from the world of sports. Liverpool lifted the Premier League trophy in front of fans at Anfield for the first time since 1990 on Sunday with the 1-1 draw against Crystal Palace. Mohamed Salah's late equaliser, which was also his 29th goal of the season, cancelled out Ismaila Sarr's opener at the jubilant Anfield. After the match, Salah was given the Golden Boot and the Playmaker of the Season award for scoring the most goals in the Premier League season. It is the 4th different season that Salah had finished as the Premier League's top scorer, equalling Arsenal legend Thierry Henry's record for most Golden Boots. Tens of thousands of Liverpool fans lined the streets of Anfield after the win. Supporters of all generations were delighted to see their team win at home ground for the first time in over 35 years. From soccer to cricket, Indian Premier League, Sunrisers Hyderabad thrashed Kolkata Knight Riders by 110 runs in their final match in New Delhi on Sunday. Hyderabad displayed their usual aggressive batting by scoring a massive 278 for 3 on a flat pitch. Henrik Klassen stole the show by smashing an unbeaten 105 of just 39 balls to propel SRH to the 3rd highest score in IPL's history. Meanwhile, Kolkata had to attack brilliantly to have a crack at chasing 279, but 3 fares from Ishan Malinga, Harsh Dubey along with Jaydev Unadkat's early strikes contributed to them getting bowled out for 168 in 18.4 overs. Hyderabad have jumped to 6th place in their points table after this big win. In tennis, Roland Garros opened with tears in chants as French Open paid an emotional tribute to Rafael Nadal, the man who conquered its courts like no one else. 10,000 Merci Rafa t-shirts turned the stands into a living canvas, while high in the upper tiers, fans in white shirts formed a mosaic, Rafa flanked by hearts and the characters 14RG. As part of the moving ceremony, organizers unveiled a permanent tribute, keeping Nadal's footprint set into the clay of court Philippe Chartier, making a lasting mark to honor the 14 times champion who retired from tennis last year. Nadal was later joined on the court by Novak Djokovic, Andy Murray and Roger Federer, reforming the famous Big Four one last time. 2 humanoid robots traded powerful punches inside a boxing ring in China on Sunday during a live stream event. The event in the city of Hangzhou was part of China's media group World Robot Competition and featured both demonstrations and competitive matches. 4 human operators team controlled the robots in the competitive bouts, pitting them against each other in the boxing ring. The robot boxers demonstrated a wide range of combat skills and could also quickly regain their footing after being knocked out. Nature lovers gathered at the Crown Imperial Festival in Erzurum, a city in Turkey. The festival showcased global culture through activities while highlighting the unique botanical heritage of the area. The event drew significant crowds throughout the weekend with cultural performances and nature-focused activities. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen and download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.